In this video, I'm going to talk about the cosine rule. The cosine rule, like the sine rule, can work for all triangles. It doesn't matter if they're right angle triangles or non-right angle triangles. The cosine rule can be used for any triangle, provided you have enough information. Now, to introduce the cosine rule, we need to know how to label a triangle if we're going to use it. The main rule is that if this is angle A here, let's say that that's angle A there. If that's angle A, then the side across from it is little a. And then the other sides can be B and C. So the main thing is for the cosine rule is that whatever angle you're using, the side across from it is paired with it. That's a pair. And then the other two sides are called B and C. So for example, this could be B and this could be little c. Bear in mind that if that is little b, then this angle over here would be big B. And if this is little c, this would be big C. Okay. Now, if we're interested in finding little a, the version of the cosine rule that you find on your maths tables is for a's. And here's the cosine rule as it's written in your maths tables. The cosine rule says that a squared, so this guy squared, is equal to the other side squared, b squared, plus the other side squared, c squared, but it's minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of angle A. Now, it's very important to realise that whatever letters at the very start on the left, like in this case it's a squared, then the cosine of capital A is on the other end. So, because they're opposite each other. So that's the version of the cosine rule that's in your maths tables. It's saying that one side squared is equal to the other two sides squared and added together. Take away 2 times those sides multiplied by cosine of the angle between them. Now, what's not in your maths tables is the following. If you wanted to find a formula for little b, b squared would be equal to, well, because we've used up the b as our main side, can I just point out b would be opposite b. So these are the letters that are going to be at the start and at the end. So at the very end, I'm going to have cosine b this time because b is opposite b. And then the other letters left over when you use up b are a and c. So we've got a squared plus c squared this time. And instead of minus 2bc, it's going to be minus 2ac cos b. So that's another version if you're looking for b's. And in a similar way, we could do another formula for c's. If I did c instead, so c is across from capital C, I'd have little c squared is equal to, okay, and at the end I'm going to have cos big C because the c's are opposite. Now, we've used up c, so it's a squared plus b squared here, minus, and it's going to be 2ab cos C. So just bear that in mind. I don't tend to use the A, B's and C's so much when I actually go to use this for real. You'll see what I do shortly. Before I go any further though, I just want to point out what the cosine rule can be used for. The cosine rule can be used to find either a mystery side. So for example, if you're looking for A, use this version. If you're looking for B, you'd use this version, and C. It's used for a mystery side if you know the other two sides. So for this cosine rule to work, you have to know, if you're looking for a side, you have to know at least 2 of the other sides and the angle in between them. It can also be used to work backwards to find out an angle, and you can use it to work out an angle if you know all 3 sides. So if you know the lengths of all 3 sides of a triangle, you can work backwards to find out any angle you like using the cosine rule. So it's a really useful formula. It is a little bit more difficult to use than the sine rule. So normally in problem solving, we check if we can use the sine rule first. And if the sine rule won't work, then we try the cosine rule. So let's do an example. I'm going to stick with just finding sides for these examples here. Find a side using the cosine rule. Example 1, find x corrected 2 decimal places. Find x corrected 2 decimal places. So you'll notice that x is this side here. And we have a triangle. We don't know if it's right angle or not right angled. We can't assume. But we do have an angle of 60 degrees here. And you'll notice that these sides here that we know, the angle is in between those. So we want to find x. But look, x is across from the 60. So because the x that we're looking for, we know the angle across from it, and we know the other two sides, we can use the cosine rule. So that's how you check if you can use the cosine rule, is if the side you're looking for, if you know the angle across from it and you know the other two arms of the triangle, then you can use it. Now this is how you use it. You can write down a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. And there's two ways to go about doing this. I'll use my method first, which is just because these guys are the most important guys in this one, x and 60. I'm going to say, look, x squared is going to be equal to the other side squared, which I'm going to say is 3 squared, plus the other side, which is 5 squared, minus 2 times that other side 3 by the other side 5 by the cosine of the angle across from x, which is 60. So that's how I do it. I just draw a little arrow across and I know that that's the angle I'm going to put at the end, look, the 60 degrees. And these are, I call these the other sides, 3 and 5. So they go here, B and C. B and C are the other sides, 3 and 5, and B and C, 3 and 5. And notice the 2 is here and the minus 2. Okay, now this is how easy it is once you know all these bits. You just say x squared is equal to. And what you do is you type in everything you see on the right hand side. So look, brackets and all. So you got 3 squared plus 5, sorry, delete, 5 squared minus 2 times 3 times 5, so 2 bracket 3 bracket 5, cosine 60 close bracket. And double check that you typed it in properly, and it's very important that that minus is in front of the 2. And once you're happy that you typed it in properly, and make sure it's on degrees, press equals, and up comes 19. So I know x squared is 19. But I'm not finished yet. I don't want x squared, I want x. So last but not least, I get the square root of 19 on my calculator. So I can go back and just press the square root, and I can either press 19 or press answer and press SD, and it's 4.358. So to 2 decimal places, that's 4.36. So 4.36 is my answer. Okay. Just one last thing, if you don't like my approach, if you want to use A, B's and C's, what we tend to do is you relabel your triangle. The side you're looking for, call it A, and then this would be capital A, and then this would be B, and this would be C, and then just sub in. So notice, instead of A squared, I'll have x squared. Instead of B squared, I'll have 3 squared. Instead of C squared, I'll have 5 squared. Then you've minus 2bc, so 2 times 3 times 5 cos A. But I think it's much easier just to draw this little arrow and then say this side squared is equal to this side squared plus this side squared minus 2 times this by cos that. Anyway, just have a look at this video again and give it a go. And in the next video, I'll do some more examples.